Okay, so in the last couple of examples, what I've been doing is I've been starting out with the language, the length of, and then writing the cross product of two vectors. I'm going to try starting out my sentence with mathematical symbols. There's a little bit of a convention that you shouldn't do that. Maybe I should say the vector right here. I mean, it just doesn't look particularly good if you start out with mathematical symbols. So it'd be redundant to say the vector 2, negative 2, 4 across something. I mean, you know what I mean? The vector, then you read this bracket as the vector. So let's just ignore that convention one time. All right, so I'm going to have a conversation about this vector. I'm going to tell you about its length and direction. What I'm going to try to do is, because I know that I'm going to be taking 21D later, I'm also going to be taking linear algebra later, I want to get really good at calculating cross products. So I'm just going to try to go straight into it and calculate the cross product of these two things without looking at the determinant with the I, J, and K in it, or without doing the method where I write this as 2I minus 2J plus 4K, and this similarly, and then distribute. I'm just going to do the determinant method in my head. Okay. So in the determinant method, first I would ignore the first slot, and I'd have negative 2 times negative 2. Be very careful and write everything out. Negative 2 times negative 2, and I subtract from that 1 times 4. Okay. So then the second slot, remember we've got that extra minus sign, so we'll attach that to whatever happens in there. Then this first thing times this last thing, 2 times negative 2. Subtract from that this thing, negative 1, and times that thing, 4. Alright, that finishes off that slot. And then the last one, last component here, I ignore the last components from up there. And I have 2 times 1 minus negative 2 times negative 1. Oh, that's a lot of parentheses. Negative 2, negative 1. Okay, and let me finish this off. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Minus 1 times 4 is 4. And then, let's see, I don't want to do too much arithmetic at once. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And negative 1, negative, so that's plus 4. Okay. And then over here, this is 2 times 1 is 2. Oops, why did I draw a comma or whatever that is? Ignore it. Minus, minus, minus. That is 3 minuses. Okay, minus 2. Further simplification, that's a 0 here, a 0 there, and a 0 there. Okay, that makes me worry. I'm supposed to be talking about the length of this, and certainly I could say that this has length 0 and no direction associated with it, because I can't find a unit vector that points in that direction. I am worried. Let me make sure that I did this right. I'll do a few things. I will try the old determinant method, I hat, j hat, k hat, then I've got 2, negative 2, 4, and negative 1, 1, negative 2. Take that determinant. So the first component, well, I'll do it this way. Negative 2 for 1 with an I hat, and minus j hat with this determinant, so 2, negative 2, and then negative 1, 4. And then I add the k, 2, 1, k direction, and negative 2, negative 1. And let's see, this guy right here, the determinant of that 2 by 2 matrix is 2 times 4 is 4. minus 4. Okay, that's what I found before. Notice that this is what I did fast up here. Negative 2 times negative 2 minus 4 times 1 in the first component, and then the second component 2 times negative 2 minus negative 1 times 4. The last component 2 times 1 and negative 1 times negative 2. It's going to work out the same, isn't it? I just want to be really careful. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 minus negative 4 is plus 4. Yeah. Interesting. So, just being careful on the last one. Maybe I made a mistake there. 2 minus negative 1 times negative 2. Okay. That is indeed 0, my friends. Here, I'll write it this way. 0 with a harpoon above it. Let me see why this might be 0. Try to draw a picture. Here's my 3 space. Maybe grab a colored pen or two. Let me try to draw that first guy, 2, negative 2, 4. So I'll come out 2 in this direction, and negative 2 in the second direction, 1, 2, and then up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I draw a dotted line going out there, and then I need to go straight up some amount, and I can figure out where that is by drawing a line parallel to that one coming out of this mark. Okay, so my vector will end right there. So one of my vectors looks like that. The first one, 2, negative 2, 4. Then in green, I will go ahead and think about, boy, I feel like the video just cannot handle that blue that I drew in. Sorry, first time I've used these pens in the videos. Negative 1, negative 1, negative 2. So negative 1 will be, oh, oops, I meant to grab green. Green is right here. Negative 1, I will go back 1 tick mark, and I will go to the right 1 tick mark. Okay, so there, and then down some amount, down 2. 1, 2. Okay, so I need to go down from here some amount, and that amount is indicated by drawing a line parallel to this diagonal here, and that's it's going to be that line parallel to that. So this is maybe that's not showing up very well, but hopefully you can copy the procedure I went through, and I think I see it. These two lines point in the same direction in a sense. Let me put this in mathematical terms. 2, negative 2, 4 is, oh, look at 2, half of 2 is 1, and half of 4 is 2. So this is, let me put it this way, 1/2 of that is 1/2 of 2, negative 2, 4 is 1, negative 1, 2, which is almost that. So negative 1/2 of the first vector is, put that negative sign in there, negative 1, 1, negative 2. I see. So these two vectors were pointing in the same direction secretly from the beginning. That's why they surprised me by that cross product was equal to 0. See, these two vectors point in the same direction. Well, I suppose you could say opposite directions. And so their cross product was 0, right? So the first one here, multiply it by negative 1/2, you get a vector that's shorter that points in the opposite direction. And that's, say that these two things are parallel. They are in the same direction, so their cross product is 0. That took me a while to figure out.